we are ready to start for the last panel session of this afternoon of this event. So we have all our panelists together. Also, Christina has from Connected. Christina, can you open the microphone just to have a little sound check?
Hello, everyone. I'm back.
Very good. Perfect. Thank you, Christina. So good afternoon again, everyone. My name is Evelina Castellana. I'm your project coordinator at Lomartov, environmental engineering based in Valencia, Spain. My colleague Marco Bianchini just gave a presentation this morning. So it is with great pleasure that I will share this last session on regulation and markets, so to know a little bit what is the point of view of our project about how to address this, the new regulations regarding the battery, and what is the scenario of the market and the scaling up of our technologies. So. To start, let's have a brief introduction of all our speakers. So, of course, you have already met them throughout the 2 days. So, just have a little quick refresh about who you are and what is your affiliation, and also maybe give us a few key takeaway of these 2 days. What is the main point that attracted your attention amongst this all our presentations and sessions? And maybe we can start from Simon.
Yes. Hello, and hello, Christina. So Simon Perrault from CEA. I'm also a member of the board of BEPA, and I'm working also with Christina on the Battery 2030 Plus initiative. So my takeaway, I think that looking at the project and also from the discussion I had with some of you yesterday during the dinner, it seems that to go towards the industrialization of solid-state batteries, there are still some bottlenecks to be addressed. So this is what I understand from the field. So it means that of course we should continue supporting this sector with research and innovation projects. And probably also we should keep an open mind, because I think it's not very clear right now what will be the next generation of batteries to go to the market. So yeah, let's keep an open mind.
Okay, thank you. So Sophie Maillet from the CA as well. And I'm coordinator of the project Astrabat. And what was very interesting during these 2 days, it is the first time that we clearly have the possibility to compare the different technologies that has been funded under the LCBAT 01-90. And it's very good to see all the ambition of all the partners and how we can now contribute together to some new technology, and to see what is good, what is not working, what we can improve. And what is interesting also is that, in fact, for all the 4 projects that has been funded, in fact, it's the technology that are different. No, not the same concept. And clearly this allows us to see perhaps the next generation what could be, in fact. Thank you.
My name is Maria Martinez. I'm coming from CIC Energy Gune. I'm the coordinator of Safely Move project. So I will repeat myself, because yesterday during the closing of the session, I already said that for me the main outcome that I take from these 2 days is really get to know what all the projects are doing, really understand, even if we are working all on the solid state topic and concept, we are addressing this challenge in a very different ways with different chemistries. Also, it's good to see how we all are struggling somehow in the manufacturing or going to really high energy densities. So, as Sophia was saying, I think it's really good to see and to understand better the scope of all the projects, and also to feel that we are not alone in this race that we are facing towards solid state, that most of the project, I think, that we are learning a lot through all these 4 years, and I'm pretty sure that this is just the beginning, and there should be a continuation in order to being able to apply what we have learned during these 4 years and then to translate into more a reality.
Vincent Giordani, Baskevolt. For me, for what I have seen, I think it's exciting to see that there are many projects going on, and Europe is fully supporting the development of solid-state batteries. There is no clear consensus right now on which chemistry will be the winner, but it's really good to see that Europe is fully committed to working on the next generation batteries, and I think for Baskevolt being part of this is important, and it's for me it's nice to see this conference and all these technical discussions, a lot of activities and people fully committed to developing this. So we Baskevolt, we hope that we will contribute as much as possible to this, and that's it.
My name is Louis de Taille. I'm from IMEC in Belgium. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with the institute, it's a research institute primarily focused on semiconductor technology, but then it moved into PV and since the last decades also into battery technology. The key takeaway, well, it has actually already been voiced by some of the people at the table here. There are many different routes that are being explored, both in the R&D sphere, but also at the industrial level. I think this was summed up quite nicely in your presentation just now, Vincent. But it is my personal conviction that these type of events where we can discuss with one another and learn about each other's solutions to the same problem is really valuable and can really lead to cross-fertilization and hopefully also acceleration of the deployments, as well as the more clear definition of the roadmap ahead for the next generation batteries.
Hello. Hello everybody, my name is Arash. I'm coordinator of the Sublime and from FEV company. So the take-home message for me after these 2 days was to see what we have achieved after 3-4 years of research on different types of technologies, and now each project is at a different TRL level, but the main achievement I think was that at the end there are big, for example, accomplishment in terms of material upscaling, making cells, fabrication of electrodes and so on, and these were all super interesting to see in different types of projects with different materials.
Thank you very much, Arash. And let's conclude with Christina.
Thank you very much. I based a little bit on my reflection on yesterday morning, where I listened to the overview of all the projects, and it's super interesting. Just as you have said, you have complementary techniques, but you have many common challenges, and to see how you solved it. But my reflection and how can we take where you are today and formulate reasonable KPIs for this technology that we put in the next EU course to follow up on what you've done for the next coming projects that you probably are going to apply to. How do we actually put them in a realistic framework? Because to be achievable, or at least almost achievable, because sometimes I feel that we might be a little bit over enthusiastic when we put the KPIs in these calls and try to press you to something that is almost unrealistic. So it's really important that we get your knowledge on where you actually can reach, because you have achieved so much, so that we can set the next framework in a better way, that we can really move this forward. So I would like to encourage you to take part in this working group for Batteries Europe and BEPA, where also I am involved from Battery 2030 Plus, where we define these KPIs. We need you to do that, because you sit on the knowledge. You have the true feeling for what you're doing.
Thank you very much, Christina. And this is exactly what is about this session. So to give a little bit closure and to close the circle actually of these 2 days, and especially of today's session. So to dive a little bit more in detail into the regulation about batteries and waste batteries. So we talked about this morning on sustainability and recycling, and we had this afternoon the industrial sessions. So I would like to ask a little bit more detailed question about what is the perception of our projects and also of the industrial basketball and the two associations on what are the implications of the entry into force of this new regulation on battery and waste batteries? So the Act aim at boosting a circular and European battery value chain, so paving the way for more sustainable battery and an improved management of the end of life. So starting from our 4 projects, and maybe I'll start with Astra, but how do you think so this new regulation really will impact the all solid state battery research that is the end of the chemistry where we have focused on?
In fact, it depends of the type of material that are inside the technology. It is something that is I'd like inside the new regulation. We need clearly to identify what are the materials that are inside the technology in order to be able after to perform the recycling or the different, to follow the battery clearly. What is very important to note, this regulation was necessary because the previous regulation about battery was from 2008. And 2019 there an amendment on this, but it was an old regulation that was done previously, that was dedicated to only a small system of lithium-ion battery. And now we go to some new technology, and the size of the technology is for electric vehicle in some time, or for stationary application is not the same size that previously for phone or laptop. And in this case, clearly we have also some strong issue in Europe, that is the materials and the source of materials to go to some overproduction of battery. So it's for this reason that clearly we need to, when we develop some new battery, to think to what type of material will go inside. And also for the full system of full development and production of battery in Europe, it's necessary clearly to develop this recycling activity. So after, I think that effectively we can discuss about the type of material, and when we go to the recycling, if we look at some material like PVDF, effectively there's an issue related to PFAS. And in this case, the type of recycling process that will be used has also some impact. And you have different aspects. When you mention pyrometallurgy, this morning we mentioned this, and hydrometallurgy, there are different interests for the both, but for the PFAS, they are not the same issue.
Yeah,
so it's
open a wide spectrum of challenges. Maria, what do you think?
So coming to the question how this will apply to all solid-state batteries, I really think that it's not going to be something specific to all solid-state. I think that it will be the same challenge for all the technologies. And coming to the discussion that we had this morning, as Sophie was saying, so if we consider how, I think we need to balance, so we need to reach a target of the percentage of the recovered materials after the end of the life of the battery, but I think that also we need to take care on how is going to be the energy that we need to consume to recover some of these materials and the cost of these materials. For example, as we were saying this morning, if I have a polymer electrolyte that is cheap and maybe I need to spend more money and energy also, because the energy at the end will have also an impact on the sustainability. So I think that we need to balance this. But that's true that at this stage, maybe in lithium-ion battery, we can already start to think about how we are going to fulfill these new targets addressed or established by the European Commission. But in the case of solid-state, we are not even in the point to know what is going to be the commercialized solid-state battery. So I think that might be early to consider this, but that's true that from the design point of view of the materials, we should already start to consider this.
So from my point of view in the past, the focus has always been on getting higher energy densities, and this also translates actually into minimization of the critical raw material utilization. So you basically get more bang for your buck. That has been a trend for the last few calls, but I think moving forward, the perspective will change a little bit. It will not just be about increasing the energy density, but also about evaluating how parasitic side reactions, for instance, between the active material and the electrolyte will affect the reusability of the electrolyte. Can we just pull apart the battery, take the electrolyte, and can we reuse it? This is something that generally today isn't being evaluated. Now, for Solidify specifically, what we are working with is polymerized ionic liquid. And in theory, you could redissolve this electrolyte. You could redissolve it, bring it back to its original state. Of course, we did not look into if this is actually possible after thousands of cycles. It might degrade, we don't know yet. But this perspective, I think, will be something that we need to take into consideration moving forward in our research and also in the project themselves.
Mm-hmm. And lastly, for Sublime.
Yeah. So regarding the recyclability, I can just talk on behalf of Sublime. So on Sublime, we are lucky that we can dissolve the solid electrolyte in, for example, ethanol and separate it at the end. So it is further ahead of one step ahead of these conventional cells, in which normally you don't recycle the liquid electrolyte. So in this case, we can even recycle the sulfide solid electrolyte. And so then we have a theoretical recycling path that shows with this path we can fulfill all the new regulations. So we can reach recycling efficiencies that are required by EU. And for the PFAS also, at the moment we are not using any PVDF or fluoride containing binders in this cell chemistry, so it also fulfills the regulations. So at least with the sulfide-based chemistry, we are safe for these new regulations.
Very good. And talking about also material efficiency and recyclability, another important point is the raw material dependency. So I would like to ask to Simone and then to Christina, what do you think will be the key to overcome the issue of lithium and also of other material criticalities in the short and in the medium term? What are the main strategies to overcome this issue? Maybe Christina, you can start.
Should I start? Well, there are several answers to this. I think one is that we really have to work on recycling, of course. So that's a chance we have. We have to really look at where we find the lithium today and realize that we have to have really good business connections, because lithium is in Australia, it is in South America, but we start to find more and more lithium also in Europe. The question is, when will this lithium be cheap enough to or the cost of lithium be so high that it's affordable to start mining it also in Europe? I mean, we have the deposits in Finland, we have it in Sweden, we have it in Portugal. I think you have found some in France as well. And this that we see that we find more and more in Europe means that we must start looking at making mines, and that is very controversial. We all know this, and it's very long lead times to have the permissions and the access to do so. I come from a mining country, so I know how difficult that is. But I think we need to look at the full toolbox on this. And I think there will be a fight about the battery. The question is, for the recycling, who's owning the batteries, and when do we have enough volumes to really ensure that we have some of the critical raw materials, some control of it, of ourselves in Europe. It's also an ethical question, I think. By having mining and opening more mining in Europe, it means also that we can control the sustainability in a better way. And that comes, of course, back to the whole question of a battery passport, where we really can see all the sort of steps in and where we find the materials and how the materials have been processed to get into the battery. So it's a whole toolbox of different things we have to look at. And that's sort of my take on this. In short and medium term. And we need to do a lot of the work now, short term, because we are in a hurry. We have a window of opportunity now, so we are in a hurry.
Yeah, I think Christina has said almost everything. It's when we talk about this issue of critical raw materials, we always talk about circular economy, so recycling and also substituting critical raw materials by materials which are less critical. Of course, this is very important. We should recycle, and we can recycle it actually, because we are talking about metals like copper, lithium, nickel. So this is the good news. We know that we can recycle metals, so we should recycle. We should also diversify the chemistry portfolio. Today, the industry is mostly based on NMC and LFP, so it would be good to have some, maybe 1 or 2 or 3 more chemistries in the portfolio, because this will avoid to put too much pressure on a single raw material. So this is clear, and we should aim toward this circular economy and recycling and diversifying the chemistry portfolio. But as Christina said, we should also be aware that we will need a lot of primary raw materials for the energy transition, not only for batteries, but for the full energy transition. So, and primary raw materials means mines. So, and we should open mines in Europe if we want to have a certain level of autonomy and independence, because it's not. We should look at the full value chain, not the battery gigafactory, not the cell manufacturing, but also the upstream part of the value chain, and meaning raw materials and mining. So I fully agree with Christina here.
Mm-hmm. And continuing this discussion on recycling, we have seen that there are different processing, or that battery processing has differed among the different projects. And I would like to ask mainly on those 2 projects that have going a little bit more in detail into the recycling. How do you evaluate the processing of the specific chemistry of solid-state battery according to the current recycling methods? Are there any open challenges that you have found that needs to be researched according to your project, and maybe some challenges that have not been mentioned in the session this morning, or something you want to highlight in general?
So, in fact, for recycling in Astrabat, we mainly consider hydrothermal process. Up to now, you have not yet at. So, we would like to clearly, effectively decrease the price of this process. So, for this reason, we need also to consider the solvent that we use in order to be more clean and less expensive. Yes.
Yes. More sustainable and less expensive.
Yeah. Effectively, the problem also there are different aspects. When you consider pyrometallurgy, there's a fact that effectively you have some gas that could be exhaust also. But for the point of view of PFAS, there are some papers that demonstrate that in this case you have less problem than if you are in hydrometallurgy, because there remains some fluoride inside the system. But also with hydrometallurgy, you will have a lot of wastewater at the end. And this is something that is also one issue for the future, because we need to clean also the environment. And for the sustainability of this process, it is one thing also that must be considered. Mm-hmm. But up to now, from the point of view of the result in Astrabat, we have not yet clearly validated the different aspects related to the percentage of material that we can have. But we are trying to effectively have a better separation of metals. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And maybe for Sublime, that also mentioned the PFAS regulation and also other challenges beyond this recycling rates that is posing the regulation. What is your point of view on that?
Yeah, so basically for the challenges of the recycling, I answer first that the main challenge for recycling that we see is first the lithium. The separation of lithium, if in case of having lithium anodes, and Christine mentioned this in the morning session that, for example, the current approach, theoretical approach, is the reaction with CO2 and then deactivate the lithium and then separate it. But then you have to see how it works by experimental results. And the other challenge is the separation of the solid electrolyte. As I mentioned, we can do it by ethanol, so this is easier. And for the PFAS, as I mentioned, for this project it is not challenging because it is we are not using PVDF or PTFE. We are using HNBR, so it's not a fluorinated binder, so we are not facing any issue in this regard. But I know that in general PTFE is being used a lot in solid state batteries for dry processing and so on. So this is basically a big risk in the future if this material would be abandoned, and then you have to look for alternative solutions.
Thank you. And I think it's very interesting to know how these research and innovation projects are at very low TRL tackling this very important issue that we saw are actually a current very important issue at stake also for the industry. So I would like to know mainly from BIPA that is working to support research and innovation in this sector. What are the main actions that you are taking to foster and to enforce the project and the research ecosystem to implement this new regulation and the new objectives that the regulation is posing?
So, okay, we can do a lot of research to improve the, let's say, the sustainability and to decrease the environmental footprint of batteries. Obviously, there are a lot of things to do at the material level, at the manufacturing processes level, at the system level also. But in general, all these research and innovation actions will have an impact on the, let's say, on the medium and long term. On the other hand, the battery regulation is a very short-term issue for the industry. So I think I would say the main issue for the industry today is maybe not research and innovation. Of course, it is very important to prepare the future and to stay. To be competitive and to keep decreasing this footprint, but the main issue today to be sure that we will address this new regulation is to build new recycling capacity in Europe, so industrial capacity, and it's also making sure that the recycling industry can access to enough end-of-life batteries. So. I would say that, yes, research, of course, but maybe the first things to look at are the industrial capacity in terms of recycling and also let's say, the market condition to be sure that the recycler can access to end-of-life batteries.
Mm. And I think that links very well to what Baskevolt mentioned in his presentation. So I would like to know from you, Vincent, what is your point of view on this position?
Yeah, I think from Baskevolt side, happy to see that Europe is pushing for this strengthening the requirements of recuperating the lithium. For us, the current cell technology, cell design, the most expensive component on my bill of materials is lithium. We absolutely need to recuperate the lithium. There is no way. So we are actively looking for partners. We've been talking to a few people already, a few companies, recycling company. I don't think they have it very clear how to do it. So we need to spend some time, some money on developing the technique. But absolutely, the lithium, given the cost, absolutely needs to be recuperated. So happy to see that Europe is pushing everyone for this and more strict regulations, and new recycling company will come online. And at Baskevolt, we want to partner to de-risk industrialization. We want to work with an expert in recycling, and we need to get the lithium back. And it's not clear how we're going to do it, how we're going to separate the lithium from the rest of the cell. If they're going to use the same process, I think it's wet process. I don't know how they're going to it's not clear how they're going to recuperate the lithium beforehand. And the other issue with the electrolyte, the cross-linked polymer electrolyte, I'm not sure exactly how we want to get that back without damaging it. So there is some concern, I think, from our side. But one hope is that Europe is pushing everyone to, create good recycling capabilities. And again, we are looking to work with somebody on this, and we've already spoken with few companies, and looking forward to what's going to happen on this.
Great to hear that. And moving a little bit forward through the scalability of our technologies, I would like to know from the other projects, mainly Safely Move and Solidify. What do you think are the key obstacles for the scalability of the technologies we have been working on in the project?
So I think that we already, for example, from Safely Move perspective, I think that we already discussed a little bit about this yesterday, mainly presented by Andri, that is from TDTech, is the partner in charge of the scaling up of the technology in our project. And the first point that we struggled a lot was, as we were explaining yesterday, to go to really thick electrodes with high loading, by complying with a high ionic conductivity, because at the end we are always putting the scope on the electrolyte by means of ionic conductivity, but we need to consider the same within the cathode. And then as well, something that we have learned within this 4 years project in Safely Move is that when there is a gap between the material developers and the one that is going to scale up and manufacture, then we may get into an issue later on. So I think that also this might be a challenge. So the processing conditions, so as Sandra was saying yesterday, the easiest, the better. So if we do not really need to take into account a really controlled atmosphere for the electrolyte handling or processing, this will have an impact on the cost, but also on the fastening or on the production. So this is the second challenge that we face. And then I will say that lithium metal might be another one, the handling, depending on the thickness that we reach. Yesterday we discussed already about the lithium metal point of using copper, non-copper, how thin can we go. So maybe also when we increase the size, mainly the area of the prototypes, this could be also an added challenge. So I think that this will be 3 of the key topics to address once we want to scale up and manufacture this technology.
Mm-hmm. And for you, Luis?
I actually fully agree with what Maria said. So I think the way to move towards Generation 4 batteries will mainly be driven by a process, or at least it will be accelerated by processes which minimally disrupt the existing manufacturing flow, the existing manufacturing process. And so in the last 2 days we learned of different techniques in which the electrolyte, the solid electrolyte, can be cast as a liquid, in a very similar way as an electrolyte is introduced in a conventional manufacturing process and then dries. I say minimally invasive because it does impose an additional processing step in the manufacturing line, namely the solidification of the electrolyte precursor. And this will be particularly challenging when moving towards thicker electrodes, as indeed you've mentioned. It's an issue to infiltrate this completely. It's also an issue of drying this material. And of course, as we move to the next generation, Generation 4B, then with the lithium metal anode, well, we're basically in unknown territory there. I mean, handling lithium is an issue. Handling lithium at these scales of a gigafactory scale is a completely new area, a completely new topic, I believe. And so both of these factors will need to be resolved and will need to be tackled. But I do feel that there are quite a few good ideas to tackle this, quite a few ideas to minimize the impact on the existing manufacturing chain. And as was already said this afternoon, it's good to go step by step. It's good to not completely disrupt and completely reinvent the wheel there, to go step by step, gradually improve the process and gradually move into the next generation of batteries.
Mm-hmm. And maybe this is something that Baskevolt has already accomplished. So I would like to know how, Vincent, your customers perceive the all-solid-state battery technology compared to the commercial batteries, and if specifically there are some customer segments that are more keen to accept this technology.
Yeah, I mean, I would say a lightweight battery, safety, and potentially higher energy. But it has to come with also lower cost. So we need to have a technology that is also significantly reducing the cost, so the customer can, can make also some profit. But what was the second question, by the way?
Yes, actually the first one. So how your customer perceive the solid state battery technology compared to the
Yeah, I mean
commercial
the next evolution of lithium batteries with more safety and more energy and hopefully lower cost. That's how they, I would say, perceive it.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
There's another question, right?
Yes, it's okay.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
it's you already answered at the beginning, actually highlighting this the segment.
And the
Yes.
customer segment, yeah.
Yes.
So mobility and aviation, but mainly mobility and potentially load leveling, grid storage applications as well. These are the segments. I think that we can make a difference. But yeah, I would say mainly mobility. So transportation, electric transportation, aviation, and train, and automobile.
Yeah, very good. And maybe one last word from Christina and Simone about specific actions in your respective agenda in supporting these other customer segments in the battery research. Is there something that you want to highlight in your agenda? Maybe, Simone, you can start.
Yeah, maybe I will start with the Batteries Europe roadmap, and Christina can continue with the Battery 2030 Plus roadmap. Actually, both roadmaps were published 2 days ago, so it's a good timing. And the good news is that there are a lot of things in this roadmap on solid-state batteries. So I think you guys will be very busy in the next couple of years. So if we just look at the Batteries Europe roadmap, there are many things on solid-state batteries across the full value chain. So I got some notes here. For example, there are some points, important points on the recycling of lithium metal batteries. So how to recycle the lithium metal anodes, which was mentioned by my colleagues here. Of course, a lot of things in the items in the roadmap on materials, electrolytes, cathode materials, anode materials, and interfaces, of course. Also, some interesting items on cell design and cell manufacturing. So how to adapt the manufacturing process to solid-state electrolytes and to lithium metal anodes. And finally, last but not the least, also some interesting items on battery packs and battery systems. So how to design new battery packs and battery systems using solid-state battery cells, especially for the field of road transport and airborne transport, so which is also in line with what Basque wants to do. So I think it's a lot of good opportunities in the next couple of years. And maybe Christina can complement with Battery 2030 Plus.
Yes, because the Battery 2030 Plus roadmap is very complementary. It goes more into really the long-term perspective, and it goes into develop methods, high throughput experiments, modeling tools, etc. for a number of areas. So we have launched projects that will be up running now sometime in November, which has to do with manufacturing. And then it's a long-term visionary project on that. Risky maybe, but hopefully. And hopefully very fruitful. We have done the same with recycling. In all our projects been running so far, we try to get them to really think about the manufacturing, even if it's really low TRL work they are doing. How will that mean for the upscaling, even though you don't need to do the upscaling. We have worked with what we call a chemistry agnostic approach. And the interesting thing is that the new projects coming now, they all focus on solid state batteries. So I think this has really become the next sort of step. So I come back to my question I had to you in the beginning yesterday, that how do we really leverage of what you have learned? What can you share with a new project so that they don't go into the same mistakes as you? So we really shape Europe rapidly forward. But there will be things coming up, just like Simone says, for you to apply for, because this is an extremely important area. And I think it comes along the whole TRL scale. So you can really look at where you find yourself to fit in this process. And of course, as Battery 2030 Plus, we are also happily involved in the work in BEPA and the association delegation where we discuss what calls should we have. And it's important to have the whole scale with also innovation projects. I mean, much more to a higher TRL levels. And I think we try to balance that in a quite fair way. And I think, but we also have to realize that the research should be a little bit in front of the industry and explain things that is difficult for the industry to have time to explain. And that can put the foundation for the next kind of innovations we can do. And I think that perspective we should not forget. That's also an important role for these projects and for us as a research community. We should try to be disruptive and think outside the normal sort of boundary conditions, even if we must know about the boundary conditions, because they are important. They are sort of, we have to be disrupting in a realistic framework, of course.
Very good. I think you have given our projects very good homeworks and a few thoughts on their way back home. So just to conclude, I would ask to our speaker one key lesson to bring home in just maybe 3 minutes. So starting from you, Christina, just to close.
Well, for me, what I've heard yesterday and from you today, this afternoon, we have talents in Europe. We have something to build on, and we should really do that.
Very good.
You have made a very good impression on me, at least, these 4 projects. So thank you.
And for you, Simon?
Actually, I have nothing more to add. Once again, I'm glad to be here. Glad to see that the 4 projects have clustered and shared some lessons and good practices and knowledge. So it's very nice. So yeah, thanks a lot for this event.
And Sophie?
No, as I said at the beginning of this roundtable, I'm very happy, effectively, to have the possibility during these 2 days to share the information related to the different work in the all solid state battery, and I think it's a good thing to have this cluster like this.
Yeah.
So in my case, I think that the lesson learned will be that if I could go back 4 years, I would have made this more often, because I think that this is really useful. So we have been working independently. That's true that from time to time we have met in different events arranged by the European Commission, but I think that this 2 days meeting was really useful and we should have made more often.
Vincent?
Yeah, I think it's great to see all the scientists here in Europe and all the activities that is going on. I think it's very informative from my side, and hopefully I will go back and think about some other ideas I can do with basketball. But yeah, I think it's good to see that in Europe we have like Christina was saying, is a strong foundation, scientific foundation, and I think we have to try to gain the leadership in solid state again, because otherwise it's going to be Asia.
And finally, Luis?
For me, this event has really supported me as a researcher, scientist, to also communicate with industry. And I think this is also one of the primary factors or primary benefits of these type of events and projects, that we can personally communicate then with people in industry and learn from them and learn what they need, and maybe also take those learnings and reflect on our research itself.
Very good. Arash had to leave earlier, but I'm sure he would all agree with you. So thank you very much to our speaker. Thank you, Christina, for being with us. And yes, a big applause for our speakers and coordinators. Thank you. So now I would leave the floor to our very last speech from Marta Gialampouki, the project officer of our 4-cluster project. So it's going to give us some insight about the opportunities beyond H2020 program. So Marta, the floor is yours, and you can share your presentation.
Hello. No presentation
Okay.
from my side. It's a late afternoon. I'm not gonna keep you for a lot of time, so I will be brief. I don't want to take more of your time. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me, and congratulations to all the people involved to such a wonderful event. It was really like I was back to school and I have lectures back on materials engineering, modeling, etc. So thank you all the speakers. As you have seen, in general, solid-state batteries are one of the key areas the EU and the European Commission considers and funds for the batteries and for helping the transition towards the climate-neutral continent by 2050 and for an economy with net zero greenhouse gas emissions. So last week, as you most probably know, most of you, we had a call closure for 3 topics in batteries, and one of them was about advanced materials and cell developments for generation 4 solid-state batteries. And also, going to the new projects in Horizon Europe, there are 5 projects that they are starting like 1.5 years ago in the development of solid-state batteries. So all this shows how much the European Commission and the EU considers and push forward on the solid-state batteries. I would like also to inform you that the strategic research and innovation agenda is under review, and the first version will be presented in the Battery Innovation Days in November. So this is another very interesting point on the update of SRIA for batteries. And another point to bring in your attention is the Innovation Fund program. This is a new program from the Commission, and with this program, you can be supported further on the commercialization of the project results. So please have in mind that having higher TRLs, this doesn't mean that the Commission will stop to fund projects. We have other programs like the Innovation Fund that push forward on the commercialization of the results. And I'm coming back now to the 4 projects, and I'm very happy that I was, and I'm still the project officer of all of these 4 projects, because they are, first of all, pioneers in Europe related to the development of the solid-state batteries. And all these 4 projects have developed further the current solid-state battery technology and presented also solutions for solid-state electrolytes. So it is one of the excited moments that a project officer can have to see that actually the project that you are monitoring have created an impact in Europe. So thank you very much for this. And I have also to say that all these projects started in the beginning of a very weird time. So at the beginning of 2020, and during their first period, all these projects faced many, many difficulties due to COVID, with very limited access to laboratories and to offices. And also with the unforeseen situation of the war in Ukraine that affected all of us, and especially Astrabat, which has a very crucial partner from Ukraine. However, all these 4 projects performed their work professionally, and at this point, I would like to congratulate all the coordinators for the fantastic work that you did and you continue to do to keep the consortia productive. So I'm very happy and congratulate for all the great work that you have done. So I'm closing my intervention here. I'm not going to say anything else. Congratulate again for this wonderful event. And I'm giving back the floor to the moderator. Thank you very much all.
Okay, thank you very much, Marta. It's a pleasure to hear from you. Thank you very much for following. Thank you for the thanks. It's fantastic. So now I believe we can close this meeting. Of course, there's many thank yous to be had. I don't really need to elaborate. I think we've all really touched on the challenges that we face, the solutions that we've come up with, and I really want to reiterate, of course, Maria's comment about we should really do this more often. I really think, looking back as coordinator, even just recently in Solidify, this is a really valuable opportunity for a cluster to really come together and share knowledge. So it's been a fantastic event, an absolute pleasure to host you all, well, on behalf of CEA, of course. So I have a few thank yous to go through, I would say. Of course, for our keynote speakers, Christina, Simon, Yannick, thank you very much for joining us. It was really great insights from all 3 of you. So please join me in thanking our keynotes. Of course, the EU project teams, and from the European Commission, Marta, who's joined us as well today. Of course, coordinating these projects isn't an easy task. So, of course, thank you very much for keeping everything going. And thank you also to the organising committee, which also encompasses the coordinators, for bringing this event together. So please again join me in thanking our wonderful organisation team. And then lastly, I think I have everything. Thank you all for being here, those online. I think lastly, the attendees for coming, listening, interacting. Great conversations were had. And thank you very much. And I think we can draw that to a close. Don't forget any promotional material that's at the back there. If you have any questions at all or need anything, just let one of us know. So thank you very much, and we can draw this session to a close.